Inge Everhard, born in Austria, had no idea that she was about to marry a prince from a faraway Asian kingdom. Her life would soon resemble a fairy tale, filled with love, adventure, and royalty. But like many fairy tales, it also held tragic twists. Why was she forced to flee with her children? What hardships and tragedies did she endure? What became of her, and where is she now? Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon for notifications. Let's begin. The story of Inge is so captivating that it was adapted into a dramatic film titled Twilight Over Burma. The film and her memoir of the same name captured the attention of international audiences, but were banned in Myanmar, Thailand, and other Southeast Asian countries for their political content. Inge's journey began in Austria, where she grew up in a small town in a modest family. She was the daughter of a gamekeeper, living in a peaceful post-war Austria. She excelled in school, and as she dreamed of exploring the wider world, she applied for a Fulbright scholarship to study in the United States, a decision that would change her life forever. Inge chose to attend the University of Colorado in Boulder, where she studied sociology and anthropology. It was at a student party in Colorado where her life took a surprising turn. There she met a quiet, reserved Burmese student named Seng, who was studying mining engineering. Little did she know, the unassuming man she had fallen in love with carried a secret far larger than she could have imagined. Despite their cultural differences, Inge felt an immediate connection with Seng. He possessed a quiet charm, an intelligence, and a deep compassion for the world around him. She was drawn to his gentle shyness, his broad perspective on life, and his kind eyes. What Inge did not know was that Seng had a secret. He was royalty. He had deliberately kept this hidden, as he wanted her to love him for who he was, not for his title or wealth. Their relationship blossomed into a deep love, and within 2 years, they decided to marry. In the spring of 1953, Inge and Seng held a modest wedding in Colorado at a friend's house. Inge's decision to marry a foreign student from Burma raised some eyebrows, as interracial marriages were still rare and often frowned upon during that era. But love conquered all, and after the wedding, they began their life together in the United States as an ordinary young couple. However, their journey was far from ordinary. After completing their studies, Inge and her new husband set off for Burma, where she would soon learn the truth about her husband's royal background. As their ship approached the shores of Burma, Inge noticed crowds of people holding flowers. Casually, she remarked to her husband that it seemed like they were preparing to welcome an important person. To her astonishment, Seng revealed that the people had gathered for them. It was then that he disclosed his true identity. He was the crown prince of the Shan state of Sipao, a semi-autonomous kingdom within Burma, a country called Myanmar now. Inge, now understanding the full scope of her husband's royal heritage, nearly fainted from the shock. When the couple arrived in the Shan state, they were greeted by thousands of people who showered them with flowers and applause. For an ordinary Austrian woman, such a lavish reception was overwhelming. However, not everyone was celebrating. Among the crowd were 8 local girls, handpicked by the royal family to be potential brides for the crown prince. These young women wept bitterly, realizing that the prince had returned home already married. Inge soon learned that she would not only be Seng's wife, but also the Mahadevi, or heavenly patroness, a revered title given to the wife of the prince in Shan tradition. Their life in Burma began in a fairy tale setting. Inge and her husband lived in a stunning 2-story palace with intricate Burmese architecture and panoramic views of Buddhist temples and lush tropical landscapes. But Inge did not idle in her new position of privilege. Rather, she devoted herself to the welfare of the people of Shan. She worked alongside her husband, who was passionate about modernizing the region and improving the lives of its people. Seng, a visionary leader, sought to bring his kingdom out of feudalism and into the modern world. Drawing on his background in mining engineering, he introduced agricultural reforms and distributed rice paddies and modern farming equipment to the peasants. He also fought against corruption within the government, seeking to create a more equitable society. Inge became a beloved figure for her active involvement in charitable work and her genuine care for the people. During these blissful years, Inge and Seng had 2 daughters, Salmayari and Saukanari, solidifying their legacy as one of the most admired royal couples in Southeast Asia. However, this happiness was short-lived. In 1962, a military coup led by General Ne Win took place in Burma, and the military swiftly took control of the country. One fateful day, soldiers arrived at their palace and Saukia Seng was arrested without warning. Inge was left devastated and helpless, not knowing what had happened to her husband. The military regime placed her and her daughters under house arrest for 2 years. As the political situation became increasingly dangerous and she realized she was also at risk, she began planning her escape. Inge began planning their escape. However, her daughters lacked official documentation, meaning they would not be allowed to enter the United States or Europe. A brave official at the Austrian embassy, risking everything, forged documents for Inge and her daughters, enabling them to flee Burma. Inge and her daughters initially returned to Austria, where they sought refuge with her parents. However, life in Austria proved difficult for her mixed-race daughters, who faced cruel bullying from local children who taunted them with racist slurs like Negros. Determined to give her daughters a better life, Inge made the decision to return to Colorado, where she had first met her prince. She took up a job teaching German at a local high school and slowly began rebuilding her life. For years, Inge continued to write letters to the Burmese government, hoping to uncover more details about her husband's fate, but she never received a response. It wasn't until much later, likely in the 1980s, that Inge finally learned the devastating truth. She discovered through unofficial sources that her husband had been executed by the military, allegedly a few years after his arrest, possibly in 1962. The official account claimed he was killed while attempting to escape, though Inge was never provided with concrete details or official confirmation of his death from the Burmese government. Inge's life took a turn for the better when she met and married Ted Sargent, an American man who supported her throughout her later years. Ted encouraged Inge to write about her experiences, which led to the publication of her memoir, Twilight Over Burma, My Life as a Shan Princess in 1994. The book became a powerful account of her extraordinary journey, detailing her love story, her royal life, and the loss of her husband. Proceeds from the book allowed Inge and Ted to establish a foundation to support Burmese refugees, especially those displaced by the military regime. Inge's commitment to helping others endured as she remained devoted to the Shan people long after she left Burma. In 2015, her memoir was adapted into a film titled Twilight Over Burma reigniting global interest in her incredible story. However, the film, like her book, was banned in Myanmar, and any citizen caught with it risked imprisonment. The regime viewed her story as politically dangerous, as it highlighted the abuses of the military government. Inge's daughters, Saumayari and Saukanari, grew up to lead successful lives, continuing their mother's humanitarian legacy. They remain involved in the Burmese Support Foundation and proudly consider themselves the last of the Mahadevi princesses. Occasionally, they visit the palace in Shan where they were born, a building that has since been transformed into a museum and is now a popular tourist destination. Inge lived an extraordinary life filled with love, loss, and perseverance. She passed away peacefully at the age of 90 in February 2023, leaving behind a legacy of compassion, strength, and an unwavering commitment to the people she served as their Mahadevi. What do you think of this courageous woman who left behind everything she knew for the man she loved, only to live many years waiting for news of him? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like this incredible story.